All right, I think we're good. We give thanks for this moment in time of us coming together as like minds, raising our frequency towards divinity. We give thanks for the seasons and cycles of life and for the attunement with those seasons and cycles. We give thanks for all of the divine assignments as we travel through each moon phase. May we continue to walk in the will of the Almighty. May we continue to be willing vessels of our divine plan and purpose in our lives, knowing that we're divinely protected, divinely guided, divinely provided for, so we can walk in rest at ease with a still willing heart as the Most High use us as its vessel for His glory. We give thanks in advance for what's to come of this session tonight. Ashe, amen. Amen, amen, amen. All right. So one more time, thumbs up if you hear me. I'm having technical difficulties because I am filming from my house. But I pray we good. We're good. Thumbs up if you can hear me good. Thumbs up if you can see the screen. Good. Thank you, Kim. Give thanks. All right. So let's get into it. I was saying I wanted to try something new. Going forward, I'm thinking, let me put it like that. I'm thinking or setting the intention to create something like this for each one of these moon phases so that you can keep in your own journal. You can feel free to print these out, put holes in them, create a little binder to keep up with it. It's not only the notes for this specific new moon period, but at the end, you have some pretty nice journaling prompts that you can keep and reference back, when you want, because I think they're relevant, not just for this new moon, but in general. These are some excellent journaling prompts to keep us grounded. Okay. Let's start with some of the astrological aspects of this new moon. It's in Cancer. The ruler is the moon. So we're talking about, of course, water element and also emotions. Remembering emotions put things in motion. So a lot of these notes are going to be referencing emotions and how we should be thinking about them as we are doing our reflection during this new moon phase. There's a couple of aspects that's happening too. I'll let you all read those in your notes. Let's jump into what's the spiritual significance of these things that's happening astrologically. Let's see if I can remove this. All right. Hopefully that made it better to see. All right, so I thought in this first bullet, I thought that it's significant for us to really understand what they're calling the cosmic mother or the holy womb. Just considering in this new moon energy, we are forever in a womb, in preparation and in preparation to birth something. That is like our forever position. But I've been saying a lot lately that, the veil is thin. We are creating at rapid rates, And so I think one of the pointers I definitely wanted to highlight this evening was during this full moon. If you can consider yourself in a womb, what would you be, what would nourish you right now? What can help you to grow stronger? What can help you to birth? And begin to consider what you can do to implement those things. So this may be, I need to fast. I need to do more specific prayers. I need to maybe do more meditations. I need to spend more time in nature. I need to reconcile a relationship, whatever that may be. Consider yourself being in a birthing phase because that's what phase we're in right now, just in general, cosmically. But with this Cancerian energy, you do have a very nurturing water element to it. And so emotions put things in motions. So if you could really get into a place where you can feel like you're in the womb of the Almighty, right? You're in the womb of this universe. If you can feel like that, that can put that in motion. What does that feel like? That feels protected. That feels kept. That feels provided for. So imagining yourself in a universal womb, not needing to figure out how to nourish yourself. That's what we always stay in. And imagine, what is it that will feed you right now? The highlight of this second bullet I thought was interesting was this emotional memory and spiritual maturity. The trine to Saturn in Pisces retrograde forms a bridge between our emotional memory and spiritual maturity. That is key. I'm going to pause this so we won't keep reading down. That is so key. Some of our emotional energy is very subtle. We have this emotional energy or emotional memory rather, that is so subtle, and it really does uh, affect and influence the way we make decisions, the way we perceive things, the way we think about things. So you want to just check in and just ask the question, is there any emotional memory, within my subconscious or conscious mind, subtle or blatant, that I need to bridge the gap with my spiritual maturity? What is our spiritual maturity? We have a knowing of the reality of God. And so that emotional memory could be, you have always been insecure about a certain thing. You have always been afraid about a certain thing. I realized when I became an entrepreneur that I grew up with a family who were always stressed and always talking about currency or money in a kind of a negative way, not kind of, in a very negative way, in a very fearful way, in a very like trap type of way. And so I noticed how I was thinking about currency once I started to understand energy, and I started to really listen to things like Abraham Hicks and Florence Scovel, all these different things, and started to check in with myself, figuring out what is happening. Why am I attracting this feeling of lack? What is this? Why am I attracting lack? As a matter of fact, it was, why am I attracting lack? But it's because I had an emotional memory of lack. Can anybody relate to that? Some of my emotional memory was attached to lack. Just like in, going to a school where, it's predominantly white children, Black children weren't treated the best. It was only a handful of us. There's some emotional memory I had to realize once I got into college, high school and college, really college and grad school is when I realized it, that there is some emotional memory around my intellect. And I remember the professor that helped me to break out that pattern of memory of feeling insecure about my intellect. And so, this is a good new moon to really do a washing of the emotional body. And it doesn't take much. You don't have to dig up everything. Just wash your emotional body with truth. That's the best thing. Wash your emotional body with truth. Go back to the document. So here's some questions they pose. Where do I need to come home to God within myself? And how can I soften, receive, and be held by spirit, by community, or by myself in certain things? I'm going to skip down. You all can continue. You all can read these pointers at length. I'm going to skip around as we go about the session. All right, so let's get into the emotional body. What is come on? That's definitely not what I wanted. Let me just keep it right here. All right, so Cancer rules the emotional body, the heart womb, and the inner home. This new moon activates deep nostalgia or emotional reprocessing of early life experiences. I just talked about that, just giving some examples of my experience in life. And we hold on to a lot of them, believe it or not. The desire to build or repair emotional boundaries and energetic safety nets. Grief may surface during this time, not only personal, but ancestral or collective grief. And between myself and a few other members, we've been talking about, this feeling of a collective sadness right now, a collective despair, and that's is very indicative of Cancerian energy around this new moon. And so as these things may come up again, we're facing it in spiritual maturity. That's the main thing. We're facing it in spiritual maturity. So your grief is not, you know, invalid. Your grief is not invalid, but make sure if you are experiencing levels of grief, then make sure you are doing it in divine mindedness. So this is a good time for tabbing, specifically thinking about reprocessing emotional experiences in your life, things like grief, and even, reevaluating and refining your emotional boundaries. Let me tell y'all something. I tell people all the time, I have family members that I do not give access to because they do not have emotional management skills nor spiritual etiquette. They don't have energetic etiquette. That's the best way I can call it. I have emotional boundaries. The other way that I exercise my boundaries is I'm not interested in hearing everything that's going on around the world. I don't want to know the details. Too much cash in my drive, like the computers and the phones. Too much. So during this new moon, reflect upon your emotional boundaries. Do you have healthy emotional boundaries? Y'all say amen. Let me know y'all hear me. Do you have emotional boundaries? And are there any places, somebody right now on the call, there's a place, all right, give thanks, Kim. There's a place in your life where you need to create emotional boundaries. Who am I talking to? You need to create them and you need to stick with them firmly. And a lot of times it has something to do with the access you give to other people. Aside from that, it has a lot to do with what you are allowing into your gates. Do we know what our gates are? Our gates are our ears, our heart, right? Our mind. These are our gates, our garden. And so be careful what you're putting in it. Create some emotional boundaries for yourself. And these are not boundaries you got to go tell nobody about. Just be about it. You ain't got to talk about it. Just be about it. All right. Erica says amen. The square to the nodal axis, Aries and Libra, reveals a tension is being articulated here in this manner between asserting our emotional independence and falling into peacekeeping patterns that suppress true emotional needs. Use this lunation to feel what you couldn't feel before, not to dwell, but to purify. I must say, many of us have a great way of coping. We have found great ways of coping and great ways of what I'm now hearing as a term that might not be a new term, but I'm hearing this term being used a lot these days, masking. They're using it in association with the autistic audience. But I think people mask a lot. Like I think people are masking a lot, especially on jobs, even in relationships, relationship with spouses, your relationship with your children, with your mom. And it's a whole lot of masking going on, I think. Ways that you cope. Nothing wrong with that, because I'm not saying be out here unhinged, right? But I think it is important for you not to bury it. So as it was saying in the notes here, it's not saying, consider any kind of emotions that haven't been addressed, true emotion that has been addressed, not to dwell on it, but to purify it. Because believe it or not, if you don't purify that emotion, that sadness, that anger, that resentment, that bitterness, If you don't purify it, it's going to have a negative impact, right? Even if it's like a little passing thought of somebody that is not the greatest thought, that has a negative energy to it. Purify it. Why are you thinking that way? Why are you feeling that way? Right? With any topic, with anything, purify it so that you're not holding on to it subtly without knowing. And sometimes we don't know until something pop up in the physical body. So take this time during this new moon to really tune into yourself. Asking yourself, are there any suppressed emotions, emotional needs that I'm right now? So I wanted to include all three bodies: spiritual body, emotional body, and physical body. With the spiritual body, we're just looking at, how do we look at things from our divine mind? I think it was perfect that we did divine order on Sunday, that talked about, in order for us to really be in universal harmony, which is divine order, we must do some adjustment to our mind and begin to think about things from a divine mindedness standpoint, from the truth, from the part of truth, with the standpoint of truth being your understanding or your knowing. And so it's right in alignment. That lesson we did yesterday is right in alignment with what it's saying for this new moon. It's saying, if you revisit old wounds, right, with the intention to seal them in grace, and I would even say in truth, not judgment. Tab is a wonderful exercise for that. As far as the emotional body, is there any suppression going on that needs to be addressed, and purified? And do you need to create some emotional boundaries so that you can maintain your energy? As far as the physical body goes, it would be great for you to work on any of the body parts that are listed, especially if it's been on your mind. For sure, I literally just got a lymphatic system tea for myself like 2 weeks ago. So I'm definitely glad to be in alignment with that. I'll be definitely sipping on that tea. And I'll be considering, it's interesting because I just bought some wild yam cream. So it's right in alignment with all of these that is speaking of here. So, but if you've been thinking about doing a gut cleanse, if you've been thinking about, your bosom health, your womb health, lymphatic, bodily fluids, blood health, it is a great time for you to do that. We're in perfect timing because you have now all the way until sometime next week with this new moon energy and this Cancerian energy to really do these type of cleanses, gut cleanses, liver cleanses, even sipping on womb teas would be nice during this time. With Mars and Taurus sextile in this new moon, we are supported in grounded, gentle movement. So these are the type of movements that will be great this week. I have definitely been committed to stretching. I was stretching this morning. I was saying, "Ooh, Lord, this is why people don't commit, boy. You got to really commit, because the way my body be tight in the morning time, it's like, oh, I have to push myself." So glad to see that's in alignment. Been walking to the garden, so grateful to see that in alignment. So get some walking in, maybe do some stretching, some yoga. Gentle though, gentle is during this time. Rebuilding physical safety through rituals of nourishment, not punishment. Listening to the body's subtle cues about what it truly wants and needs during this time. Because just like you are getting messages through your emotions, your body is giving messages through its pointers, its hints, to what is needed. I definitely would say get versed about your body too, so you can kind of know what's going on when something happens. There are certain symptoms that point to the liver, certain symptoms that point to the stomach, certain symptoms point to the need for vitamin C, the need for water. Your body kind of shows you there are certain symptoms to know that you're dehydrated. So learning about the body too is very important. If you don't know much about the body and how it speaks to you, I definitely would suggest that you get to know the body more and more so we can really listen to what the temple is telling us. Now I'll see if I can find something, that speaks to that topic, you know, um, deciphering or decoding the body's language, I think would be powerful. Decoding the body's language. And we're not talking about the doomsday stuff that Google tell you. Because according to Google, honey, we got the symptoms for everything. we all we all experiencing all of the things if we were to go off of their, interpretation. Um, we'll be linking ourselves with all type of things. But there are ways that you can just know what the body is asking for. During this time, you may feel extra sleepy or dreamy, a need for warm foods, water, and quiet spaces, an urge to release stored tension through tears, breath, or rest. If during this time you're brought to tears and you have no clue why, let it flow. Do you some breathing exercises. Get you some rest. You don't cut out any unnecessary tasks during this new moon phase. You're in this very nurturing, womb-like Cancerian energy. You want to try to rest as best as possible so you can hear, so you can breathe, so you can release, so you can move with the waves of the emotions. And emotions don't always look like, heavy or major. It's just you feel. It's just a feeling. You just feel, you could just feel tired. I feel tired. I feel overwhelmed. I feel confused. I feel joyous. I feel at peace. I feel grounded. Reflect on all of them. Reflect on how you feel at peace. Reflect on that peace, the how, the why, you're feeling in those ways. And really, sit with those emotions, whatever is coming up during this new moon period. I thought it would be interesting to talk about how this new moon is affecting our conscious and subconscious mind. And so here's the notes that came of that. You may feel torn between the desire to be seen and the need to protect your emotional truth. Mental patterns tied to past shame. So past is coming up a lot during this new moon. Invisibility or overgiving may rise for renewal. So it's essentially saying, if you do have some of those emotions like insecurity, shame, feeling underappreciated, feeling unseen, feeling like you're doing more than other people, this is a new moon to address that. This is the new moon to address that. With Neptune station retrograde, and this is an ideal time for journaling with the inner child. It's so interesting. I just shared the inner child meditation that I did in 2018. I just shared that with somebody. So interesting. So good to see the alignment. It just really shows, if you're really keeping the heart light and you're doing the work to keep that soul and heart purified, you're going to naturally be in alignment with universal harmony, the stars, the moons, and all those different things. So this is very confirmative to me for sure. But this is an excellent time to do inner child and inner mother, inner God self work. Louise Hay has a really good inner child meditation. I did do one, so you can look on my YouTube channel. I did do one like in 2018, long time ago. Like I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. But it is an amazing meditation, which sparked me to do it when I did it because I was working with it and I found some wonderful impact when I was working with that inner child meditation. That was around the time I was first really getting into Louise's Hay work, and I just thought that was so profound. Especially when I imagined my mother and my father as little children, that I'm, just, a part of the meditation, she has you to imagine yourself as a little child and you have a conversation and you pick the child up and comfort her or him and talk to her, encourage her, and then it walks you through the same thing for your mother and your father. you see them as little children, and you pick them up and you talk to them and you encourage them and you comfort them. It's a beautiful meditation. Okay. This is an ideal time for engaging in guided meditations, of course, or hypnotherapy. And also just letting silence, not logic, guide your next steps. Just silence, intuition, that small, still voice. This is a good time for that right now. Right. I'm going to ask for a thumbs up here and there just to make sure y'all still with me. Still with me? I can keep going. And again, you all will have these notes to revisit as well. We good to go? Great. Thank you. If you don't know about Cancerian energy, it's a very sacred womb-like cusp between water and earth type energy. Very powerful energy with healing the spiritual body and the emotional body. It's definitely a beautiful time during this time to go to the water and do some meditations or some offerings at the water, visiting the beach. Like this whole Cancerian season, it's a good time for that. So, all in all, for the spiritual body, return to the sacred room space of divine protection, remembering that you are in a universal womb. You're always protected, provided for. Is there an area in your life that you have not allowed yourself to surrender to that womb space? You keep trying to fix it. You keep trying to do it. You keep trying to grow it. Are there areas in your life where you need to surrender to this divine, to the divinity? Emotional body during this time, reclaim your emotional safety or protection, rewrite inherited emotional patterns. Look back and see if there's any emotional memories that you need to tab out. Physical body, detox gently. Listen to the womb and gut. Rest is holy. So gentle detoxes, dandelion, burdock root, charcoal water, activated charcoal water, gentle detox. Aloe vera juice, gentle detox. Let's see. Sweating, that's a gentle detox. Going in the sun for a while, pulling out that sauna suit if you haven't used it for a while. Going to the sauna if you can, that's a gentle detox. For the subconscious mind, let the waters of memory and dream repattern your beliefs about safety, love, and trust. In close, this new moon reminds us healing is not weakness, it's a sacred return. We're not called to armor up, but to root deeply. I love that. We are not called to armor up as if we are afraid. We are called to root deeply, being confident that we are protected and we do have the tools. But to root deeply in softness and divine trust. So surrender, know that you are protected and provided for, and be easy. The sisters are having this whole soft girl area. I think that soft girl era, I think they now are saying it for several. It's saying soft boy. Yeah, that sounds weird. But anyway, the whole idea of that is I'm not about to struggle no more. I'm not about to fight. I'm not about to figure it out. I am going to be kept. I'm going to be a passenger side princess. I'm only dealing with people who can appreciate me, who can keep me. That's the whole notion. Well, let's do that with the Almighty. We can be kept, but we can't be kept if we can't surrender. And what the brothers be saying all the time, I can't find no submissive woman to surrender so I can keep her. So she can be soft. I'm not going to get into that whole argument. But hey, and the righteous, most higher vibratory version of that, that is exactly how it can be. I'll say it like that. It can be, you know, if you're with someone that you can trust and who is rooted in something, who have your best interest in mind, that all describes God to me. So why not submit? Why not surrender so you can live that soft life in that divine trust? Amen. To allow the divine mother within to say, you are safe here, you are held, you are ready to begin. So here are some journaling prompts you can check out on your own in categories. I think they are quite intriguing, even including just they're nice. I really like all of them. So you can check those out on your own. Again, I put it in the chat room. I'm going to also share it with the replay so you can check it out there. Okay. I'm going to get ready to close. Before I close, what are some of your takeaways from the notes from this new moon? What stood out to you? What spoke to you most strongly when it comes to the pointers from this new moon that you know you're going to be focusing your intentions on? What is your takeaway from everything that was discussed or shared this evening? If you don't mind popping in the chat room. When you're talking about emotions, I think a great gemstone for you to work with, obsidian is a really good uprooter. And so black obsidian would be nice to work with right now. Mahogany obsidian, snowflake obsidian, all the obsidians would be nice during this period. Also, green aventurine would be nice. So green aventurine helps you to break habits or patterns, you know, so that you can create new habits and patterns. So green aventurine would be nice. So if you have those stones, that would be great for you to work with. Candles, of course, white. I'm just going to keep saying white. You know, white is the way to go right now. Herbs, rosemary is a great protection herb, as well as patchouli. Patchouli is a great oil. Any of the woods are good. Sandalwood, cedarwood, those are all used for protection and healing emotional energy. Yeah, those would be my tips as far as resources. Y'all be super quiet on the moon call, so I'm gonna leave y'all alone. Okay, here we go. I might be delayed too. Relax, flow, and check in on emotions. Are there any suppressed emotions? Excellent takeaway, Erica. When I say sometimes emotions are subtle, I mean it, you know. They are. And you do have to just sit with yourself and just ask yourself, you know, are there any emotions I'm just not addressing? I ain't saying conjure nothing up, you know, but you do have to sit with yourself and ask yourself, do I have any fears in association with my child? Do I have any fears when it comes to money? Am I thinking, am I not thinking in the right way when it comes to relationships? Like what are some of these things that I need to rewrite that emotional memory? I can't tell you, I mean, on my journey, I can't say enough that there's been so things that just had to be rewritten. You know, I say all the time, rewriting your story is essential. It's a huge part of your renewal journey. You must rewrite the stories, you know, so that you can have a new memory. It's like cleaning out your cache and your memory on your computer and taking off all the software and all those different things and reinstalling, because you have to put programming on there for it to function. You know, you can just have a computer and don't have no programs on it. It's useless. You know, it's just going to do bare minimum. Maybe a few apps that can work without software, but You need software on your computer for it to work. So same way with us. We need, how we work is through the data that we have flowing around. The beliefs, the attitudes, the perceptions, the stored memory of things, even ancestrally. The stored memory. Listen, if you don't know about your mother's childhood, or at least what was going on when you were in the womb, if your mother is still here, talk to them. Talk to them. If your mother is not, ask God to reveal to you. It'll help you to kind of put your finger on certain things. I realized, because of some of the history with my mother and my grandmother, my mother's mother, I realized that I need to do some healing work, some ancestral healing work around our relationship with the divine masculine. Because one, I saw the patterns in my mother's side of the family, especially with the women. I began to see patterns with myself and my sister. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. Okay, I see. We need to break this. We have to bring some harmony in this. And so my affirmations, my talk about around the divine masculine, or men or brothers, became very intentional, so that I can have a different narrative in my heart, a different feeling in my heart, not for the sake of me attracting the masculine, but that comes with it, but also so that I'm not, that can be broken, that energy can be broken. So prayerfully my nieces can have a different experience, I don't know, with the divine masculine. And that's not just men either. I'm saying men, but divine masculine fall into a lot of categories. If you have a toxic relationship with men, you possibly have a toxic relationship with masculine energy, which is also linked to your intellect as well as your money, your resources, material gains, manifestation. That's all masculine energy. And so healing that even helps in all areas of the masculine energy. And so, when we talk about these, these emotional stories, these emotional memory, this emotional memory, and these suppressed emotions, or these stories that we tell that are there, we try not to tell them, but that's the story we tell ourselves when we think of these things. Clean it up if it's negative. Clean it up, retell the story. All right, but that is all, my dears. The meditation will be held on Wednesday for my Thrive group. We will have class tomorrow. I did send a notification out that we will be having at 6 instead of 7, because I have an unexpected meeting I have to make at 7:00. I was recently selected to the board at the radio station, and so now I have to fit in those board meetings, but it won't disrupt our classes, but one time a month. I think it's one time a month. Where I either have to have the class early or switch the day. Aside from that, they're all on the sessions. The meetings are on Wednesday, so it doesn't conflict. But I'm just finding out just recently that I have to do that. I have to go to that meeting. So I want to make it because I've missed a few. And so I appreciate your patience with me. I did not want to skip. I want us to keep flowing with our classes, so I didn't want to skip to next week. So we're going to do it at 6:00 p.m. Tomorrow. We'll be talking about guardian angels, the angelic realm. We'll be talking about what angels or angles are all about. Angled energy is all about, and how we can ensure that we are walking with our angels, and how there's duality in angelic energy as well. Okay, there's a duality. Always, you have a duality, so you have to be considerate of that as well, so that you're storing up this angled energy that's positive. But anyway, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. You all have a good rest of the evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all, if not before. Well, I'll see you all tomorrow. And if I don't see you on tomorrow, I pray I see you on Wednesday on the meditation call.